You don't need to know about pop art to know the work of Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol's greatest work of art is Andy Warhol.
The Pittsburgh-born artist, who rose to fame with his silkscreen paintings of Campbell's soup cans, was so influential that his unique and multifaceted brand has gone on to influence countless painters, filmmakers, musicians, and social media stars. 35 years after his death, his fingerprints can be found smudged across our contemporary landscape. Yet the person behind his larger-than-life persona is a slippery mystery, one that Netflix's new documentary miniseries, The Andy Warhol Diaries, might set out to solve. The title is literal, named after the posthumously published journals, The Andy Warhol Diaries, which were edited by Warhol's longtime friend and collaborator, Pat Hackett. Across 6 episodes, director Andrew Rossi deep dives into the diary's stories, with interviews from Hackett, Debbie Harry, Rob Lowe, and John Waters, just to name a few. As Warhol was also a filmmaker and photographer, Rossi is spoiled for choice in terms of archival footage. Last summer, outrage arose over the Anthony Bourdain documentary Roadrunner because that documentarian employed AI to create narration in Bourdain's voice. Critics, fans, and Bourdain's family were shocked to find out about that device after the film's release. The Warhol Diaries uses the same technology, however, it's never hidden. It was announced in the trailer, it was made clear in the documentary, and it was even cleared by the Andy Warhol Foundation. So Rossi thoughtfully addressed all of the issues raised by Roadrunner. But how does it play? When the AI is announced via a title card, a quote by Warhol follows.
Wednesday, November 24th, 1976.
Throughout the film, this concept, this wish to be a machine, is echoed, as the man struggles with his body's weaknesses, desires, and a crippling insecurity about his work and his looks. Warhol's actual voice has a signature flatness and aloofness to it.
Oh, I'm speechless. This is just so exciting, I just don't know what to say.
Making the AI translation all the more fitting. However, every once in a while, a word will come out like jarringly robot-y, which sort of serves as a reminder to the audience that these diary entries are actually being read by a robot. And since Warhol did actually have a robot version of himself built, it kind of works. If you're planning to sit down for a 6-hour documentary about an artist, Rossi assumes you know the basics. The first episode will offer a manic montage that swiftly spells out the impact Warhol had on modern pop culture. But the iconic soup cans, the factory and its stars, and the assassination attempt are regarded more as timeline markers than chapters unto themselves. Rather than focusing on these elements that have all been well documented already, the Warhol Diaries wants to understand who the man was behind the headlines and the screen print coolness. So Rossi takes us back to the Byzantine Catholic Church and the rough blue-collar neighborhood where a young and undeniably swish Warhol faces inspiration and persecution. From there, Rossi charts his journey to New York City, and that's where the episodes become more focused on the pivotal personal relationships. Some romantic, some platonic, some a little harder to pin down. The second episode focuses on Warhol and his long-term boyfriend, Jed Johnson, who became an illustrious interior designer to the stars. Episode 3 dives into the relationship between the artist and his closeted paramour, Paramount Pictures executive John Gould. Episode 4 explores the friendship between Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat, which was devoted but plagued by the pressures of the art world and personal blind spots. Today, Warhol is embraced as a legend of queer America, who captured queer desire and made queer art nationally recognized. However, Warhol struggled with his own queer identity throughout his life, in part because of his Catholic upbringing that urged shame on homosexuals. His art, journal, and friends all delve into this inner turmoil, which expresses itself in a desire to, quote, hide the real me. The Warhol persona wasn't just a living art installation, but also a shield that protected Warhol from some of the most vicious homophobia raging in America throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This documentary digs unflinchingly into what that meant and how it looked. It's not all pretty. The Warhol Diaries also explores the ways in which Warhol fell short as a queer leader. His Ladies and Gentlemen portrait series could be viewed as a celebration of transgender people or exploitation of them. His relationship with Basquiat was one of admiration, but also charged with racial tension, as Warhol was an older And as the AIDS crisis raged on, their friend Keith Haring became an outspoken advocate for gay men, while Warhol privately panicked about how he might be at risk. There is no simple answer to this deceptively simple question. The Andy Warhol Diaries probe the man behind the myth, but also recognize that a diary is not the entirety of a person. Warhol gave so much of himself to the world in his prolific art, in his public performance as an artist, in his diaries, in his colleagues that he boosted and collaborated with. Experts and friends can point to passages and pictures and make pronouncements about who they think Warhol was, but none of these pieces complete the puzzle. That's by design. In the end, Rossi has not spent 6 episodes dissecting, deifying, or demonizing Warhol. Instead, he explores how one of the most famous men of modern times is still a marvelous mystery, no matter how long we look. And in that, there's a lot of beauty and humanity to be treasured for decades to come.
I wasn't very close to anyone. Although, I guess I wanted to be.